Our eighth and final video on this boy's life. And in it, we are going to assess Jack's character and other aspects of self as empathetically as possible. Finally, the beginnings of a kind of scorecard for Jack on the virtues of thriving. These are the virtues that we've talked about in a variety of people involved in the program have highlighted as some of the most important ones. Obviously, there's dozens more important ones, but these are ones we want everybody to focus on, whatever other ones you want to focus on. And so, try to put the trouble spots in red and the good ones in blue and the mediocre ones in white. They're all so tricky because in some ways Jack wants to be benevolent, right? But thieves aren't benevolent, and hooligans cannot really be counted as benevolent. And he does seem to have an incredible empathy, right? He feels with the Welches, he feels with his mom, he even feels with Dwight, he feels with everybody. But the problem is he doesn't have compassion. And that's a tricky combination, to have empathy and compassion, because you can be a real torture artist if you have empathy and no compassion. Because remember, compassion is owning the life outcomes of the other person that you're feeling with. And Jack doesn't really do that. I'd say the Welches are the best example, right? He's too concerned about himself, his own narrow selfhood, to be much of a carer. He's completely confused about image and reality, so he's not wise. He's stingy because he doesn't have enough to give away. He's always bragging beyond his ability, so he's not modest. He's got a hyperactive imagination. I think it's debatable whether it helps him or hurts him in the long run, but certainly active. Courage, sort of his character courage is fairly low. His personality courage is quite high. Hard to know how to discuss that one. He does come back again and again and again, but he can't really stick with anything. So resoluteness, he's not detail-oriented, he's not constant, he's just all over the place, scratching and clawing to stay in the game, right? And the habitual attitude of entrepreneurial service, definitely not. He's just not even trying to help other people. He's busy trying to save the day for himself. And also the skills that we'd like you to talk about, not necessarily all of them all the time, but, these are the skills that the program wants us to highlight and wants the boys to be aware of and to self-evaluate on. And so, leadership in the program's view is a combination of engagement, service, and coordinating the activities of others toward shared ends, which involves a lot of problem solving. So there's sort of these micro concepts in the bigger concepts. And this is, again, really, really challenging to do, because when it comes to community building, Jack is a catastrophe. It's not even really on his radar, as we've said, because he's so concerned with saving his own soul through this debacle. So he's terrible at the practicalities of helping other people, and he's not a good problem solver for anyone else, right? He's sort of but he is a good listener, and he can define things well, and he's a hyper imagination and very inventive of solutions. They're just never applied to anyone else's good, really. And he's such a liar about things. He's not a very good evaluator. But again, so when it comes, he just has no practice, right? One of our main lessons is you throw yourself into engagement, service, and coordination and problem solving. You're going to eventually probably get really good at these things. Like anything else, if you practice a lot, you get much better at it. And Jack just doesn't practice caring for other people in any serious way, and thus by the end of the book, he's still terrible at it. And also, ask you to talk through the three aspects of character education, leadership education, in the head, the heart, the hands, the understanding, responsive feeling, and the skills of caring. And I would say Jack / Toby, though obviously there's potential there as you look at what happens later. But when this book ends, Jack has flipped image and reality, and to him, image is the reality, and reality is some image that's not possible for him. He has a very damaged heart. He thinks it's damaged by his long experience with Dwight. But again, I would say the Welches is probably the best example, where he does this terrible thing to these people and he can't apologize. And, he's a terrible caregiver. He's an abusive boyfriend, playboy, and he's a trivial friend, and he just has no skill at it, and he's too busy trying to save his own skin. And just to keep going, we're trying to teach the boys strategies to think about their lives, and reinforce them through repetition, because that's the way they learn. And they just don't have any of these strategies, most of them, now. So we're trying to teach them these strategies. And here's another one, right? So to try to think about Jack's web of social roles, these different aspects of selfhood. How does he do in web of social roles? Really badly, right? How about his telos? His telos is, by our standards, incredibly superficial, right? It's an amor-propyladen telos, and it gets him in so much trouble. He's an incredibly ineffective caregiver. His narrative is largely a pack of lies. He can't tell the truth to anyone. He does have a relatively strong personality. Again, we put it in white rather than blue, though, because it's so overstrong, his performance of himself, that it gets him in trouble. But it's certainly strong, so it's hard to know how to exactly evaluate that. And to finish, just two lists of questions. There's obviously many, many more to maybe get your imagination going, that you could ask the boys. Where are the boys on all these issues? Where are they personally on all these issues? And how about their classmates? And so I'm not going to go through these all. I would just be reading them. I hope by the end of this presentation, they're now kind of self-explanatory, why they're interesting or important. And there they are. Use of them what you will, and use of this whole approach what you will or not. It's obviously completely up to you. If you want to give me some feedback on whether this is helpful or not, I'd love to hear it, how it could be made better, or if it's just not worth the time. So anyway, good luck on this, and I appreciate all of your participation.